Okay, so 1 second before we start, Joshua. Corey and Billy, are you planning to give a speech tonight?
Yes. Yeah, if you just saw, I had to email it to you. I thought my upload didn't work, so I had to just now email it to you. But yeah, I have my speech to give.
Okay,
I was having trouble submitting mine, so I just got it in today.
okay, let me see. I see Billy.
Mine, I had to resubmit mine because of the outline.
I
I think
the
it went
res-
through.
Yeah, it says second. Yep.
Oh, okay. Because
But
it kept giving me
it
error
seemed
message.
like it was the same thing. It was just, well, no, it
No,
didn't.
it said it's different.
It was
Yeah.
different. It was slightly different.
Yeah. I was I hope not, because I like rushed to hurry up.
Okay.
And so I put in the wrong one.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay. And 1 second. Okay. All right, whenever you're ready. Good to go? All right. Okay. We all have a speech due on Monday at, hold on. Sorry, let me restart. We all have a speech due on Monday night at 11:59 p.m. After seeing family and friends and enjoying a wonderful Thanksgiving, I procrastinated before writing the speech. In the middle of writing my introduction, I got up and went for a snack. After eating my Twix bar, I then said, well, it shouldn't take me more than 5 hours to do my speech. Seeing that I had 2 days to write everything, I still decided to play video games, work out, and even spend a couple hours on TikTok. Then I realized that it's Saturday and the cursor on my computer is still where I left it on Thursday night, with absolutely no work done on my speech. The point is that procrastination is real, and for some, including myself, it's our biggest enemy when it comes to schoolwork. The big question is, why do people procrastinate? And why is this important for students? As I was doing research, I stumbled upon this article on the web called What Causes Procrastination and 7 Real Solutions. It turns out that procrastination can have several causes. In other words, there are multiple reasons why we tend to procrastinate. It rang in my head as a child that I was always a perfectionist, as some of you in this class may be as well. For me, it was the idea that if I did something, I had to do it right or not at all. As quoted, perfectionism may seem like a desirable characteristic. Perfectionists strive for high standards and to be the best at everything. But perfection is impossible to achieve, and aiming for it sets unrealistic expectations. As a result, they, meaning students, develop a fear of failure. They wind up putting things off because they feel like they won't do something well enough or do it right. They wait until the right moment that never arrives, which leaves you a lot of last minute work to do. It may sound very contradictory procrastination because one would think that procrastination and and being perfectionist don't match up. Like in the sense where perfectionists don't procrastinate. Those two ideas connect when you introduce the fear of failure. The fear of failure is scary. It can cut down our motivation, which results in procrastination. There are more causes too. For example, trouble focusing. It can be difficult for someone with ADHD to be focused to complete an assignment. Some more depressing reasons could be difficulty refining goals, like if someone doesn't have the motivation because maybe they have other goals, or they're unsure if this is the right degree, if this is the right job that they want. There's a disconnect between present and future self, not being able to see past the present. The last reason why people procrastinate is just plain laziness. There's no desire to do anything because they're lazy. Now, what are some repercussions of procrastination? According to a source called I'll Do It Tomorrow, they state that procrastination produces lower quality papers and projects, lower test scores, and to a lesser degree, late or missing homework, according to a large percent of college students. One more consequence of procrastination could be the loss of a job. Procrastination is a trait that can affect people with any goals they have in their life. Now, the big question is, how can we control procrastination? Well, there's a plethora of ways to control procrastination. Now that we know what it is and what causes it, here's some ways to limit it. In a scholarly journal called How Can I Control Procrastination? Everybody does it, and many of us want to learn how to stop it. The author, Steve Schumacher, gives us ideas and steps on how to control procrastination. The first step is that the procrastinator has to recognize when they are procrastinating. By this, it means that we have to be honest to ourselves about what we're doing. After we recognize the problem, we have to drop the past and focus on the present and future. Instead of being hypercritical about yourself on why certain things aren't done, be active and try to respond to your emails or type your paper. Because if we're pushing the work away, we're just lying to ourselves about what really matters. So it's critical to be honest about our actions. The author suggests that to overcome procrastination is to do the hard part first. We often tend to see the hard stuff and shrug it away, rather than actually trying it and see where it will take you. In coherence with limiting distractions. If your desire is to procrastinate less, then limit distractions or materials that are going to interrupt your time frame. Time is key. And if we use time effectively, then we will overcome the obstacle that is procrastination. In a full text PDF done by some college students called How to Improve Your Time Management, they say that work that is quick should be done now. By that, it means that if the next actionable item for your task will take less than 2 minutes, do it. You will take longer to schedule a time to complete the activity later than just getting it done. Which basically means that if a task doesn't consume much time, why do it later when you can get it over with? Time management is important. It'll help you become more organized. And for some, being organized and having clean and healthy time management habits, it will make you procrastinate less, and it will keep you more prepared for other tasks to be met later. If procrastination is something that you're okay with, it's on you. You're the only one that can make the choice to procrastinate or not. Given the information that I've provided you with, as a student, we must be assured about what our own individual goals are. Now that I've explained more about what procrastination is and informed you on solutions, you decide what kind of choices you will make for the remainder of your semester or for the start of the upcoming semester. Personally, I procrastinate a lot due to my work schedule. And I get it. Sometimes it may feel as if you never get a break, but you're the person that calls the shots. And at least with some information on procrastination, you'll have a better idea of what it's about and what choices you make later on. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Joshua?
Ten out of 10.
I try to keep the eye contact like I've been practicing and just looking at the camera, but it's kind of difficult when you're trying to like come back and read.
We saw you. Yes, good.
You lost me at the Twix. I got really nervous. I was like, oh my God, is he about to tell us about Twix? And I got excited. And then you talked about procrastination. But it was still good. It was still good.
Yeah, I try to like build a story, like a relatable story where it's like,
Yeah.
one thing turns to another and then you end up not doing anything.
Yeah. Super cool.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. Okay, who would like to be next?
I can go next.
Okay.
The minute you're ready.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Hold on. I'm going to shut my door so you guys don't hear them.
Okay, we're ready when you are.
I just want to preface this by saying I put a lot of love into this speech, okay? It's one of my favorite foods, so please take it easy on me. Okay. Okay. I personally am addicted to French fries. And to be quite honest, I don't see myself ever not being addicted to French fries. I love a good fry no matter what setting I'm in, 5-star or drive-through. In fact, that's the beauty of French fries. No matter where you are, there's always fries. I wish we were in person so I could have brought some to snack on, but since we're not, I'll just have to tell you about them instead. French fries were originated in Belgium, are extremely versatile, and are a fast food staple. French fries are, in fact, not French. The tasty potato snack was actually originated in Belgium. In the late 1600s, poor villagers would cut up the potato and fry it as a way to nourish themselves while also not having to spend much and pair it with whatever protein they were having that day. I guess you can say we still follow that tradition till this day, because regardless the setting, French fries still reserve a place in the sides department. A traditional Belgian meal to eat fries with are cooked mussels or with a fried egg on top. Belgium is even home to the first ever French fry museum, which I must visit. To say the least, Belgium paved the way for French fries, but they do not take credit for all of the tasty ways we enjoy them. French fries are one of the most versatile sides, with many ways for them to be cooked and shaped. They are curly fries, straight fries, truffle fries, and my personal favorite, wedges. I really love French fries. To make them even more fun, you can top them with cheese, bacon, or load them up with both if you're feeling greedy. Most people enjoy a fried French fry, but there's always a healthier alternative like baking them, or with today's day and age, an air fryer, because we can air fry everything if we're being honest. Back in the days, Burger King used to use potatoes with less moisture and sprayed with sugar to make them brown nicely and cooked in shortening. The shortening was made from a mixture of animal fats and vegetable oil. Although we know French fries take many forms, they were not always given that name. According to Andrew F. Smith, as I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. As pommes frites became more common, the name was further shortened to fries, which we're thankful for. Could you imagine if they were still known as pommes frites? Since their name change, French fries have gone mainstream, and you can without a doubt catch it on any fast food menu now. I'm sure we can all agree when it comes to fast food, McDonald's comes in first place with the fries. And if you disagree, then I cannot trust your palate. McDonald's has rapidly grown and continues to every day. They serve 40 million people in 500 restaurants in 116 countries around the world, which, when you do the math, is a lot of French fries. Regardless what state you might be in, French fries are on every fast food menu due to their ability to go with just about any food. Excuse me. The classic burger and fry combo is definitely unbeatable on a weeknight when you're too tired to cook. Who remembers when Wendy's dropped the 4 for $4? What a magical time. Or I'm sure we all remember that moment when we could ask our parents for a Happy Meal and then your mom would remind you there's food at home. Even places like Taco Bell, which is a Tex-Mex fast food restaurant, came out with nacho fries, which were so popular that they had to bring them back to their menu. Regardless where you're getting them from or in what form they're in, French fries are delicious. We can thank Belgium for creating such a quick and yummy side, with options expanding as we know it. The reigning supreme straight cut fry is safe to go when at an unfamiliar restaurant. Or if you're on a road trip and are unfamiliar with the area, I'm almost positive there's a McDonald's nearby. If you're ever hungry and only have a potato nearby, I recommend you try homemade fries. After all, who can mess up French fries? Thank you. Thank you. And that is my speech informing you on French fries, which I take much pride in, okay? So please don't hurt my feelings. Thank you.
Wedges are the best though. You crazy?
Bruh, wedges? Have you ever had clucky wedges?
What about curly fries, man?
No, she was right about the McDonald's though. She's right about the McDonald's.
10 out of 10.
Sure, McDonald's definitely
The
go to.
best, though. Wedges are the best.
I feel like wedges are too fat. Like I like crunchy fries.
Facts. I like my fries crispy.
You can, they're like, okay, there's a time and place for a crispy fry though. Like the wedge with cheese on top, unforgettable combo. Unforgettable.
We make waffle fries at my job, and they're part of like this hidden menu that you can only order through like delivery apps.
Yeah.
And those fries hit
Mhm.
completely different than the ones we make. Because they're like wedges and waffle fries, and it's
Where
just
do you
bomb.
work?
Applebee's.
They have a waffle.
Now I know.
We have them, but it's part of like a secret menu. You can
So
only
what's
order.
like, what is the alias that Applebee's is under for like delivery?
What do you mean?
Like I know how like for Chili's and like Red Robin and stuff, like you don't just order like Chili's or Red Robin like for like DoorDash. Is that what you're talking about? Like the secret menu? Like
So
it's like a
we
whole different thing.
I have like a partnership with this thing called Cosmic Wings, and it's
Yeah.
courtesy of Uber Eats. And we have, well, I'm a cook. I could tell you, right? In the back, we have like this, like a fridge. So the fridge is pretty big. And like in one fridge, we have like all the stuff we deep fry. And then in the other fridge, we have stuff for like the cosmic menu.
Yeah.
So we're not supposed to serve people cosmic menu type foods, but unless they order it through like Uber Eats, I think.
Yeah.
Just Uber Eats.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to. I make it a thing everywhere I go to rate the French fries. Everybody knows like the minute I get the fry, I'm gonna rate it. So I will get back to you with that rating. Uber Eats, that's it. You can't DoorDash it.
You could do so what I told this guy, like there's this regular that goes to the bar all the time, and I told him like you could go on Grubhub, I think, and it works too with Grubhub, so you could kind of like order it on Grubhub and pick it up yourself.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
I like the presentation though.
Thanks. I'm so excited to give it. My mom didn't believe me that I wrote a whole speech on fries. She thought it was impossible.
All right. Thank you, Ellie. Making us hungry. Okay, who's next?
I can go next.
Okay.
My problem is like I want to like look at you guys on the screen so bad, but I know that that's not like looking at the camera. So because like I'm trying to talk to you guys, but I know like that's not like who I'm talking to.
Look around. Like that's
Yeah.
what eye contact is about. So you can look at your notes some, look at your audience some,
Mhm.
look directly into the camera. Just be personal.
That's the hardest part though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm ready. Whenever you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay. When it comes to American sports legends, it doesn't get much more legendary than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is considered by many to be one of, if not the greatest basketball players of all time. 6 rings, 5 most valuable players. The list goes on and on. As well as being a basketball legend, Jordan is also known as a legend in pop culture. From his Air Jordan sneakers to a hit movie, Michael Jordan is everywhere. Along with all these impacts on culture, Jordan amassed a pretty generous wealth for himself through business. Without further ado, it's time to inform everyone about the legacy of his heiress, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Before Michael Jordan became the NBA superstar he's known for being today, he was playing in Chapel Hill for the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Across 3 seasons, Jordan shot a 54% field goal percentage, averaged 17.7 points per game, and earned an AP Player of the Year award in the 83 to 84 season, as well as many other individual trophies. These accolades led to Michael Jordan being drafted 3rd overall in the 1984 draft. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. People don't know that like he's Michael Jordan. You would assume that he was the 1st overall pick, but I think there's actually 2 people that were picked ahead of him. Across his 15-season-long NBA Hall of Fame career, Michael Jordan went on to win 6 NBA finals, was the finals MVP in each 6 of those championships, regular season MVP 5 times, the NBA scoring title 10 times, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and was on the all defense team 9 times, as well as the NBA All-Star team 14 times. All of these accolades, as well as Jordan's ability to drive to the basket, his accurate shot making, and ball handling, make him one of the most legendary players to ever play the sport of basketball. Apart from his influence on the court, Michael Jordan was a huge part of pop culture in the 1980s and 90s. Michael Jordan's signature Air Jordan sneakers were immensely popular and have continued to grow in popularity to this day. The iconic silhouettes have been reinterpreted and designed by some of fashion's most well-respected designers, such as Kim Jones and Virgil Abloh. Michael Jordan also dabbled in the cinema industry, playing himself in the movie Space Jam, one of the most iconic sports movies of all time. Last but not least, Michael Jordan has been the star of some of the most legendary advertisement campaigns the world has ever seen, such as his one-on-one match with Larry Bird for the bag of McDonald's and his infamous Gatorade commercials. Michael Jordan not only influenced the basketball industry, but made his influence in the fashion, film, and marketing industries as well. Ever since he was in the NBA, Michael Jordan knew the ins and outs of the NBA. Ins and outs of business. Michael's business savvy led to him being the highest paid player in the league twice before making his real money off the court. Most of his income comes from his Nike-backed Jordan brand, which rakes in an estimated $2 billion every year in yearly revenue. Some of his other income comes from his ownership of the Charlotte Hornets, an asset that is believed to be worth over $500 million now. And to go along with these major assets, he also owns 7 restaurants and a car dealership. When you have money like him, that might as well just be like extra cash. So, and as of 2021, Michael Jordan is estimated to have a net worth of $1.6 billion. Michael Jordan is one of the best basketball players to ever play the sport of basketball. He had the best skills and he utilized them to build the best resume. However, Jordan didn't just influence the basketball industry. Jordan has played a part in the fashion, film, and marketing industries as well. To go along with these influences and his athletic ability, Jordan is a smart businessman who knows how to build wealth legally and successfully. That's it.
Rest in peace, Virgil. I heard that in there.
For real. But that's
Did you watch?
Does anyone have any questions? Because if not, I would like to use the restroom.
Watch The Last Dance?
Did I watch The Last Dance? Of course. I've watched it like 3 times.
Oh, you're right.
We hate Isaiah Thomas.
Thank you, Billy. Okay, who's next?
I can go next.
I'll go now. Oh, go ahead.
It doesn't matter. I can go if you want. If you, I can go. I can go. Um.
1 second, Omar. Okay, 6:36. Let's go.
Okay. I actually did my speech on the video game industry. I was previously going to do it on LeBron James. I'm actually glad I have not. It would have been a little repetitive. We go on Michael Jordan to LeBron James after that, but it's good. I guess I ended up going choosing make a good decision. I'm gonna go now. Everyone has their favorite go-to activity after a long, stressful day of work or school. Some people immediately sit down and start watching the news or turn on Netflix. Others try to relax by reading a book. My favorite way to wind down, if there are no sports on, is to play video games. For as long as I can remember, playing video games has always been a great way to relax or to bond with my brother, dad, or friends. My dad grew up in a time when video games were first created, and he watched them grow in popularity. And I like to think I lived in the prime era of gaming, but what is the true history of the gaming industry? How did they grow to be so popular around the world? The history of video games dates back to the 1950s as nothing more than simple games and simulations on the earliest computers, but have evolved tremendously over the past half decade into the pastime that so many people of our society partake in today. When talking about the history of video games, it is impossible not to mention to some capacity computers, as video games would not exist without them. The first video game is said to be created by physicist William Higginbotham and technician Robert Dvorak on a small analog computer at the Brookhaven National Laboratory in 1958. They called the game Tennis for Two. After the pair had the idea to make the game, it only took them about 2 weeks to completely design and code it. It was a very simple game that was played very similar to the game that would go on to become a classic, Pong. Remember this, as this game will be making another appearance later on in this speech. Tennis for Two was never released to the public. At the time, computers were still extremely scarce due to how expensive they were, so they were typically only found in laboratories or on college campuses. The only way one could play Tennis for Two was by visiting the Brookhaven National Laboratory during one of their open houses. The game drew crowds at open houses, but despite its success, the National Laboratory decided to retire it from its open houses after only 2 years. Higginbotham never sought out to patent his game. He did not believe his game to be particularly innovative, and of course, had no idea how popular video games would eventually become. Nearly 15 years after the creation of Tennis for Two, a young entrepreneur named Nolan Bushnell and his business partner, Ted Dabney, formed the company Atari Incorporated. They created the company with the idea that video games had the potential to be coin-fed arcade games like pinball. In 1972, less than a year after the company's formation, the world's first video arcade game, Pong, was released. This game was essentially just a copy and paste of Higginbotham's Tennis for Two, but as I mentioned before, because he never patented his game, he did not have the ownership rights to claim the idea was his first. Pong went on to be a huge hit as kids would flock to local restaurants and convenience stores to play. Pong's massive success led Atari Incorporated to partner with Sears Roebuck and Company to work on developing a home version of the game. By 1975, the first gaming console was invented, the Atari. Anytime someone finds success in a new market, there are bound to be new competitors attempting to follow in their footsteps. In the early 80s, arcade games grew massively in popularity. They could be found in just about every local pizzeria, convenience store, and of course, arcades. In 1980, Namco released the famous Pac-Man and the even more popular Miss Pac-Man arcade games. I don't need to explain just how popular those games have become, as it's probably rare to find someone who has not heard of them. By 1982, the gaming industry had amassed over $12 billion in total revenue, just 10 years after the release of the first arcade game, and it was still growing exponentially. In 1981, the world was finally introduced to the iconic character Mario by Nintendo. According to Games Radar, a reputable gaming magazine and website, Mario is considered to be the most iconic video game character of all time, even today. The introduction of Mario set the stage for Nintendo to make huge strides as a leader in the gaming industry. Nintendo released the Nintendo Entertainment System, the company's first gaming console, to the public in 1985. Following the success of their new system, Nintendo was ambitious and began releasing more gaming systems in rapid succession. They released the Game Boy, the world's first handheld gaming system, in 1989, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1991, and released their third console, the Nintendo 64, in 1996, with popular games such as Super Mario 64, or GoldenEye 007. Though Nintendo led the gaming industry to this point without any real competitors, its future two rivals that would eventually form the big three of the gaming industry would soon join the show. Sony would go on to join the gaming industry with the invention of their PlayStation gaming console in 1985. The system would go on to reach unprecedented numbers for a first console by a company, with worldwide sales reaching over 104 million units. However, the best was yet to come from Sony, because 15 years later, in 2000, they released their second console, the PlayStation 2, which would go on to be the most popular and most widely distributed gaming console of all time. No console has ever beat the worldwide sales record of the PlayStation 2 at 157,680,000 units to date. The next year would prove to be a significant one for the gaming industry, as Nintendo struck back at Sony with the release of their next generation handheld, the Game Boy Advance, and their brand new gaming console, the GameCube, both in 2001. Microsoft would also start to get on the action in 2001 by creating their own console, the Xbox. Though at first the Xbox could not compete with the PlayStation in sales, the popularity of games such as Halo managed to keep the system relevant enough for the release of another generation. The Xbox 360 was released in 2005, revolutionizing the gaming industry as the first system to have high-definition graphics. The new system's popularity officially made Microsoft a true force in the gaming industry. The following year, Sony released its PlayStation 3 system to compete with Microsoft, but falling just short of the Xbox 360 in sales. To finish my timeline of significant dates in gaming history, in 2006, Nintendo changed the game again, no pun intended, by releasing the world's first fully interactive gaming console, the Wii. For the first time, entire families were playing video games together and getting somewhat active with games like Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. Nintendo sold over 100 million Wii units, making it the most popular Nintendo console of all time. Fast forward to 15 years later, and Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft still stand on the podium as the leaders in the industry that has rapidly become one of the most popular and profitable in the world. In 2020, the gaming industry totaled over $175 billion in total revenue. That's over a 20% revenue increase from the previous year, making it a more profitable industry than movies and North American sports combined. Experts say that massive increase is understandably due to the enforced quarantine, but they predict that the industry will only continue to grow, with next generation of consoles for both Sony and Microsoft being released this year. And with other technology giants such as Google, Apple, and Meta, formerly known as Facebook, looking to join the industry in the near future. After choosing the evolution of the gaming industry as my topic of discussion, I immediately regretted it after starting my research. Truthfully, there's just no way, there's too much information to give all of it all in a 5-minute speech. I didn't even get the opportunity to mention all the games that impacted entire generations of people, or talk about the creation of new gaming leagues that have turned video games into a competitive sport. And last but certainly not least, I did not get to cover the possibility of what is to come with Facebook's new metaverse. With the industry's constant growth and other companies looking to join, I do not expect it will be long before there's an invention of a full dive system where a player could have all five of their senses connected to the video game at once, like something out of a movie. Such an invention would definitely be deemed controversial, but in my personal opinion, is bound to be created. Until then, though, all we can do is appreciate the games, consoles, and systems we have now and continue to game on.
Any questions for Omar? So I guess we can safely say that you're a big fan.
See, I'm by no means somebody that's gonna sit in front of a computer screen all day, right? But I am somebody who's played video games my whole life, and I was having a hard time deciding on my topic, and I didn't want to do LeBron James because I've done so many LeBron James reports and so many things, and I happened to look over and I saw my PlayStation. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do it on video games. But as I said in my essay, in my speech, like I really did regret doing it. Like as soon as I started doing the research, there was just so much information, so much stuff to talk about. Like I was like, I had such a hard time figuring out how I was gonna structure it. Like I was frustrated, but I got it done.
Should have done the LeBron. That would have been funny if you followed up my Jordan speech of the LeBron.
Yeah, I said that when you stepped away. I said I actually was kind of glad I didn't do it because it would have been repetitive, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. But it would have been interesting, you know, one goat to the next goat.
One goes to the next. Okay. All right, thank you, Omar.
You think I can run to the bathroom real quick?
Say again?
Can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Sure. Okay, who's next?
I'll go next.
Rich. One second. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. The importance of completing a FAFSA. Every year on October 1st, an application opens up to apply for federal student aid. It's called the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, but it's commonly referred to as the FAFSA. As one can assume, financing for educational systems has gone through dramatic transformations over the decades. With rapid changes, both socially and politically, school administrators needed a way to determine eligibility for their applicant. The FAFSA is your gateway to determining the financial assistance you may be eligible for and helps with the costs associated with your post-secondary education. This speech will inform you on the history and the importance of the FAFSA and why it's an important tool to complete for college funding. The first step for funding your post-secondary education is filling out the FAFSA. Beginning October 1st, the application becomes available and over 13 million students file a FAFSA each year. There are several post-secondary schools, such as community college, technical schools, four-year institutions, as well as graduate schools, all which require students to fill out a FAFSA. With the rising rates of education and the costs associated with it, tuition fees, room and board, meals, textbooks, and transportation, most people find it difficult to afford, so having some type of assistance is needed. By filling out the FAFSA, the government will decide how much federal aid you are to be awarded. As noted in the dissertation by Haley Rosenfeld on how aid dollars are distributed, she indicates essentially this form collects financial information about the student and the student's family. From the information provided, the expected family contribution is then calculated. This figure represents the amount of money the government determines a family should be able to contribute towards college costs. The FAFSA allows students to request that their information be sent directly to schools for which they are applying. To determine the financial needs, the EFC is subtracted from the school's cost of attendance. This approach is known as the federal methodology. Notice above she said should be able to contribute to college costs. In my opinion, Middle America is the most affected by the expected family contribution, in part because if you're impoverished, you will receive assistance, and if you're wealthy, you can afford to pay. However, I still think the government should do more to help the average American family when determining eligibility. For the middle class, the cost of an education is a hardship, and many families are often forced to make financial decisions which result in hardships for the family in years to come by borrowing on their homes or retirement accounts to help pay for the college experience. It's important to know the history of the FAFSA and how it came to be. The federal government initiated the shift from scholarships to financial aid during World War II with the introduction of the GI Bill. This bill gave veterans resources to attend college. As described in the article by Jackson Toby, however, few officials anticipated how many veterans would take advantage of these educational benefits. By the time the original GI Bill ended on July 25, 1956, 7.8 million of the 16 million World War II vets participated in education or a training program. In the peak year of 1947, veterans accounted for 49% of college admissions. In addition, with the growth of endowments and scholarship funding for private colleges and universities, came the need to develop formulas to distribute those funds equitably. The College Scholarship Service was established in 1954 by a group of colleges and universities to develop a methodology to determine the financial aid for the need of their applicants. This was the first established methodology of allocating need-based aid to students. The Soviet launch of Sputnik inspired Congress to establish the Perkins Loan with low interest and debt cancellations for teaching service after graduation. The Higher Education Act was introduced in 1965 under President Lyndon B. Johnson to structure the components of financial aid and establish the U.S. government as the primary provider of financial aid for Americans. Around 1978 was when significant changes were made to the student aid, such as the Middle Income Student Assistance Act, which increased the amount students can borrow annually, as well as the introduction of the Parent Plus loan option. As noted in the article by Schaefer, Soul, and Steele, the rate of tuition increase at U.S. higher education institutions makes it easy to understand why affordability has become a focal concern. The Bureau of Labor Statistics data show that college tuition costs have increased 1,225% in the past 36 years. To the layperson, the rate of increase for higher education is extremely startling, especially because there is no end in sight. For most students, the FAFSA is a necessary tool, and you can clearly see why 13 million students apply for each year for funding assistance. Because the government is allocating money to help with students' educational costs, there must be knowledge of one's financial aid status before an offer can be made. To qualify for federal aid, students must complete the FAFSA annually. Each year, the Department of Education selects millions of applicants for further review. For those selected applicants, schools are required to validate the submitted information to ensure the accuracy of both the FAFSA data and the financial aid awarded. This additional step in the aid process is called verification. While verification is an important step in maintaining the integrity of federal programs, the FAFSA has helped streamline the verification process by linking tax information directly from the IRS. By using the IRS data retrieval tool, this brings most, if not all, income fields that a financial aid office would need for verification. Most colleges process FAFSAs when they're received and set funding priority deadlines for their institutional funding. As noted in the article by Dan Couture, Director of Financial Services regarding college work study, he indicates a student's eligibility for work study is contingent upon factors such as family income, the number of family members, and other financial aid offered by the school. These factors are all taken into consideration when determining a family's contribution or how much they can afford to contribute towards the cost of college. Though the FAFSA provides all the student information necessary to receive Pell Grants, federal student loans, and federal campus-based aid, some schools request additional information before awarding their own funding. The expected family contribution will be used for federal, campus-based, and institutional dollar awarding. Similarly, as stated in the article by Sandra Gardner, The government will make available more than $60 billion in financial aid assistance to 8 million families and students based on economic need. This helps students and families pay for a post-secondary education. Ultimately, the FAFSA is important because it allows one to know what financial help one will receive with their college education. There are changes to one's financial status each year. That's why you are required to fill out a new application every year. But after completion of the FAFSA, subsequent years you can file a renewal application. The application saves most of your biographical data and cuts the time of completing the FAFSA application in half. Once you file your application, your school will determine a package on your eligibility and help you understand the costs and the help provided with your education endeavors. I think Joseph Addison said it best. He who hesitates is lost. Don't be one of the 1 million students who are eligible for funding and never complete the FAFSA application. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Remember, it's free and worth your time. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Very.
Your speech was very encouraging considering FAFSA denies me every year. So encouraged me.
So if you didn't file your FAFSA, please file your FAFSA.
Okay, any questions at all? Thank you so much, Regina. Who'd like to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered how far evolution has gone and how quickly it has with automobiles? All these beautiful sports cars and massive pickup trucks on the streets are seen every day, but that's not how it started. Humanity has come a long way with this invention and has evolved like crazy. Let's go back to the beginning of these amazing machines before we get to the cars of today. To start off, we're going to go back to the beginning with Carl Benz and his three-wheel combustion engine car. Carl Benz was the first inventor of the automobile all the way back in 1885, even though it only started with three wheels. This was a revolutionary invention that helped pick up the pace of transportation. The gas-fueled car was changed to the four wheels we all know in 1891. Now we get to the man everyone knows, Henry Ford. His first car came out in 1903 and he called it the quadricycle as he made it from 4 bike tires. As Ford went into racing, Ransom E. Olds and Frank Clark stepped out to build their own car and called it the Oldsmobile, and these cars were sold for $2,382, which was a lot back in their time. So over 100 years ago, the first car was made and sold, but they are sure not what we see on the streets today. As time goes on, automobiles become faster, more complicated, and more fashionable to the generation. Automotive industry is for over 100 years one of the most representative, performant, and dynamic industry in the world, was stated by Evolutions in Global Automobiles Industry article. The industry of automobiles created many jobs throughout many countries and boosted the economy. All these different countries like the US, Britain, France, and Italy were coming out with their own car companies to bring more and exciting vehicles to the world. Because of this, we now all see these famous car companies everywhere. Companies like Ford, Dodge, Jaguar, Fiat, Volkswagen, and BMW are available all around the world as the automotive industry relaunched in the 1950s after the war. More and more companies kept launching and giving us the abundant amount of car brands that are available to us today. Many people around the world own and drive a car to get their need, but the cars are also hurting our environment. The gas cars have been hot over the years, for the last 100 to be more specific, and the gases that are being released into the environment are hurting our world. So instead of cutting cars out, which people love so much to help them get around, a new car came in and the evolution of the automobile plays their hand. Now fully electric cars are released into the game that require no gas at all to run, just a charged battery, and only release natural gases to help the environment. All the quirks and how long distance and the efficiency have been being solved over years as charging stations have been put in rest stops everywhere you go now. The long game is what is going on, is what's going to happen, but any little change could help. Over the last century, our world has gained access to automobiles and has changed the world as we know it. As it took a couple months to travel across the country, can now be done. As it took a couple months to travel across the country in the past, we can now accomplish that in a couple days. With the first inventors of the automobile changing the world, it led to a growing industry of many different car companies, which all led up to the electric car. The evolution achieved in such a short amount of time in humanity led to the new lifestyle. That's it. It was a lot longer when I practiced, but I think I talked too fast.
I feel the same way, my guy.
Okay, any questions for Corey? What's your favorite car, Corey?
Well, I was like everyone else, I was having trouble picking my topic, but I just bought a new car like 2 weeks ago. It's my first car that I bought. I bought a Dodge Ram, a 2015. So I've been like loving cars in like the past weeks. That's what I chose.
Billy, no mention, I'm sorry, no mention, Corey, no mention of Tesla?
I was going to put it in it, but I was having trouble with electric cars because they came out in like the 1900s and everyone like hated them as they were too expensive. So I wanted to bring Tesla into the end, but I couldn't really find an angle to put it in. And then I ran out of time, my procrastination.
Oh, Joshua, there goes that procrastination again.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. And congratulations on your first car.
Thank you.
Life hack for procrastination, you give yourself the wrong due date. So that's what I do. I give myself the due date of a week ahead. And then I'm so busy that I forget that's not really the due date. And then I always do it ahead of time. And then I submit it early. And every time, I swear to God, guys, I've been doing this for 3 years. Every time I do it, I rush. And then I go to turn it in. I'm like, it wasn't even due today.
I've tried that before too, but I always remember that I put it a week early. I always
forget.
I always remember.
I always forget. And then I go to submit it and I'm like, I had a whole week to finish this, but I already did. So I was like, what's the point?
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that.
All right, 3 more speeches to go.
I'll go next. Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
1 second. Okay, ready.
Okay. The topic I chose was animation. I'm just going to talk about like how animation is built and like different examples of different types of animation. So animation is like an artistic and visual media skill that is used to create movement involving multiple or just one figure in like a plane. There are multiple forms of animation, which is 2D, 3D, and CGI. There's also like plenty of more, like stop motion and so on and so forth. Animation is a big part of our life. It's literally everywhere. You'll find it on YouTube. You'll find it in your phone with your emojis. You'll find it probably outside with advertisements on TV, everywhere. Education and different types of animations could like having education and knowing how animation is made and the basis of it could be really helpful and give you a new look and perspective on the show that you like a lot. It's well, it's like any other art form. You can't really just jump into it. You start with a sketch. So artists have to lay down sketches with storyboards. So these are just little sticky notes on a board in the office. Let's say you have a group of animators with you. It's on a board in the office, and there's multiple sticky notes showing the episode and how it's going to play out. And you'll just sit there and you'll bounce off ideas with each other, being like, "Oh, let's change this, let's change that," and that's how the process will be started. The second part of that process, when you're done sketching out, was the other storyboarders will be. I'm nervous. I'm so sorry. It'll be animatics. So animatics will be a different section where you will start putting the sticky notes together and having like a rough draft of how it's all going to be animated together. And this will also be cited with the voice actors, music, and any other effects that will be used in the episode, movie, or whatever you're making. This show, the animatic will also be filled with keyframes, which will be used in actually animating the episode. Now, keyframes, by the author of an article, "The Beauty of Animation: Appreciating Art One Frame at a Time," states that, well, imagine you wanted to animate someone standing out of a chair. The keyframes in that animation will be the basic most noticeable position of the person standing to get an overall idea of what happens. In this case, it would most likely be the keyframe. So of the person in the chair, and it's the person beginning to stand. So because I can't read for shit, keyframes would just be him sitting, him standing, and the in-betweens will come in, and that's what the person would draw out next, which is what? So keyframes are just, oh, not keyframes, fuck. In-betweens are just the basics. So like, that's just in between frames, you're drawing out the process of the person getting up out the chair. The first form of animation, which is the first ever thing that a person has ever professionally done, so just like how Mickey Mouse and stuff was made, was cell animation. Traditional animation, figures will be drawn on celluloid transparent paper, which is just a paper on top of a glowy type table, and you would keep drawing one paper, then you get another paper and you draw over it, and that's how like you could see your old drawing under that other paper, so you know where the character is and what they're gonna do next, and it'll just keep piling up and piling up until you like put it all together and you see the character start moving. Give me a minute. There's also a technique that animators will use to make the process go faster, which is just a squish and stretch type of movement. So example is Mickey Mouse back then. You know how his body would always like move in weird ways. That's part of the charm about animation, is that they would often mess with body proportions and anatomy to make the characters move around in different unique ways, which will also make the process way faster. So this is why whenever you pause an animation, because when I was writing out this speech, I remember that back on Twitter, people were canceling a show because somebody paused it. They paused it on a frame that was used to make a stretchy frame. So the character looked stretched out and weird, and people were canceling it for no reason when it was just a frame that wasn't meant to be paused on. For the second section, I want to talk about CGI real quick, because that is a form of animation, but it's very much used to help either traditional or 3D animation. You also see it on live action, which an example that would be Marvel, because you always see how they always have their powers and stuff like that. That'll be used with CGI. CGI are mostly used for the looks of characters or backgrounds, or yeah. You can also see CGI in like really popular movies. Like, surprisingly, I did not know, because Studio Ghibli is a studio known for only doing traditional animation, but they used some, I think, for the background of Princess Mononoke. And right here, I also want to jump in and talk about 3D a little bit, because according to Evan Lindsay, the writer of Blake article, CGI versus 3D animation, the difference in CGI encompasses both dynamic images and static scenes, whereas 3D animation refers to exclusively the movement of images. 3D animation is what mostly every studio is leaning towards nowadays. You know, Disney and all them other studios mostly ever use 3D animation, because it's a faster process than just drawing it all out frame by frame. A show that I found on Netflix a long time ago that used 3D animation was called The Dragon Prince. A video on YouTube from the CG supervisor named Chris Brown talks more in detail about the show. And the show uses 3D models for characters, props, and even backgrounds. The backgrounds are special though, since it's a Netflix show, they had to cut corners to make the process go faster, so they could pump out episodes way faster and people will keep watching. So the crew would use 2D drawings of certain items and place them in the background as if they were stand-up cars in a dollhouse. An example of the show using this type of format is the trees in the forest. Whenever it comes to like them being outside, combo with the 3D modeling and the 2D assistance creates an easier process for the show to go on in a fast pace, while also still looking really beautiful. Another beautiful example of CGI and 2D animation, which I want to show you guys on my tablet because I don't think anyone will know the show but me. The show is actually from a animated studio in Japan called Studio Orange. They have a show from 2017 called Land of the Illustrious, and the reason I want to talk about that is because they use CG and 2D animation, but they mostly use CGI and 3D models. And whenever they use regular animation is when they either zoom in on a character to show more detail on their faces, or like a beautiful scenery, they want to draw it out, because when it comes to 3D models, if you zoom in on them, they look weird and pixely and kind of gross. But the reason why they use 3D models anyways is because the hair in these characters are like crystals. So it's hard to draw them out because crystals have many types of shiny parts and shading, and it's just a lot. My phone did not work, so you're just gonna see it like this. If you can, I think you can. Crap. I'm so sorry. I can just probably, I'll send it through the messenger on what's it called, on Zoom, because it's really nice, and I just want to show it out just so people can understand why I like the show.
Did you want to
But
share
if you,
Did you want to share a screen?
I can't share. Can you share a screen on the phone? Can you do that?
On your phone, I can give you the ability to share your screen. But if you turned your if you
I can't. My
top
phone's
of
broken, so my
the
back
top
camera
of
doesn't
your
work.
tablet, if you put it down a little bit, I think we can see it better.
Give me a minute. I'm so sorry, because my phone sucks, and I just opened something and it won't close. I'm so sorry.
It seemed like you had it on your tablet.
Yeah, I had it on my tablet. It's just that you guys are on my phone, so I was trying to show it on the tablet because it's harder to do anything on my phone because it's broken and it won't do anything properly.
Can you put your phone in front of the tablet like you did earlier?
I tried, but it's really weird looking. Like it won't show because it's just a bright.
There you go. Oh,
Hold on. Do you guys, can you open Messenger? Like, oh, I can't send pictures on here. I can't send pictures on chat. Can you see it all?
we can see. Pull it down a little bit.
Like this?
The other way. Forward.
Can you see?
Yeah, just get a little closer and let the light focus a little bit. Like tilt it down a little bit.
I'm so sorry.
I'm
sorry my phone sucks.
I'm trying to see what you're saying though.
But like, yeah, just like the process of how they made the hair to make it look all crystally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you just look up Land of the Lustrous, you can see how to show like looks and stuff. And they also just use they mostly use 3D models and stuff like that because it's faster process than traditional. And it's better to use when it comes to like dynamic posing and fight scenes, because there's a lot of fight scenes in the show. Because it's you know, it's easier to just make a 3D model and have them do all the posing than you having to draw it all out, and it's a painful process. Honestly, I'm an artist. Drawing dynamic poses hurts me every day. But I also, before like I end this, I do want to talk about like 3D animation more. Oh wait, no, wait, I'm sorry. Another CGI show. This one's more common because I want to talk about it real quick. I didn't add this in, but I should have. Have anyone ever seen Attack on Titans? That one is well known to a lot of people. And at the recent season they're about to send out, they only did part 1, part 2 is coming out. Season 4, they started using CGI more often because they wanted to be a faster process, since Mappa Studios picked it up away from Wits because Wits gave up on it. And since they wanted it to come out at the same time with the manga's chapters, like similar format, it had to be rushed out. So it's easier to rush it out with CGI and have a lot of fighting scenes happen with like CGI models than it is to just animate it all. So that's why I want to talk about that real quick. I scrolled away way too fast. Oh wait, no, I did talk about it. Okay, I think I talked about everything. I'm so sorry. But yeah, animation is just a magnificent art form that can bring literally any idea to life. Just name it, you probably find a show of it. It takes hours, days, months, even years. I remember, I think it was Spirited Away that took like 3 or 4 years just to animate. But all of it's just worth it because you always find some amazing, just beautiful shows. Just recently on Netflix, if you look up something called League of Legends Arcane, you can see that it's one of the top most popular shows right now. It beat Stranger Things, and it's only on one season. Like, that's how beautiful and interesting the story is, and that couldn't be done with live action, you know. But that's it. That's the end of my thing. I'm sorry. But yeah.
Okay, so you made a statement. I wanted to know. You said every day it hurts you.
Yes, it does. Oh my God.
Tell me more about that statement.
Because perspective is so hard. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's because like you gotta like, so maybe something simple like this. Like, you know how like you can do a drawing where somebody's arm is up, so you're just gonna have to like either draw it in like a tube going towards the camera to draw it like that. But you can also like there's like different other poses. Like, some people would just like have poses that looks like you're breaking the character's leg, and I'm just like, how? I don't know. It's hard to explain. Maybe if I find pictures, I can send to you guys and be like, yeah, these dynamic poses, I cannot do them because it hurts. That's why people mostly use apps. Like, I think I have an app that shows like figures, and like you can pose the figure and it's grab it, put it on your drawing program, and it's trace over the figure. A lot of people do that, like people, webtoon artists, maybe animators. I feel like animators do it a lot because they have to do a lot of posing and stuff like that. They'll grab a 3D model, trace over it, put the character's outfit, hair, and all that stuff, and it's gone with the day, because it's way easier to just grab a model than it is to just do it by references or memory.
So are there like copyright issues and things like that?
Copyright issues? No, it's just a model. Like, you can literally buy a little toy figure that you can just pose around, like a random art store. You can just download an app. I have an app on my phone.
All right. What?
Magic Poser is on the Apple Store if you ever want to just grab a posing model and just take it and trace over it.
Okay.
Like, that's the one I use.
Okay. All right. I was wondering, how was it hurting you? It hurts me every day. You can't make a statement like that. No, how was it hurting you?
I'm a graphic artist and I mostly do illustrations. Like, right now I'm in illustration class. What project am I on? I forgot. It was a project it was the first project we did. We had to do like a poster for COVID or something like that. And there was one pose I couldn't do. So I just grabbed, you can also use real people. There's like websites where like people just pose for art references. And I think I used a real person and like traced over them and used them as like my reference point to continue the drawing. And I also find people on TikTok, if you go to TikTok, like artist section, you'll always find people, their whole page is just them posing for you to draw them and use them as references, which is great.
Okay. Any questions for Taz? Thank you, Taz. Okay, 2 more left. Who's next?
I can go next.
Okay.
I am also not really feeling that well though, and my voice has kind of been a little iffy, so
We'll bear with you.
yeah. I also would like to share my screen if that is a thing I can do.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Just because I made like a little presentation picture, like just like a few pictures to help visualize.
Did you try to share it yet?
Yeah, it says you disabled it.
Okay, let me see. Your Mute yourself so I can get into your window. Mute. Okay. Um, okay, you should be able to do it now, Skylar.
Okay.
Are you unmuted?
Yeah. I think.
Here we
Yes.
go.
Do you see?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll start. Um, so the nightjar is a species of bird associated with myths and folklore. Nicknamed goatsucker in many European languages, people believe that nightjars fed from goats due to being found close to livestock, and others believe the calls of the nightjar were the sound of witches hiding in the bushes. Neither of these are actually true. However, nightjars are still considered mysterious because of how rare it is to actually witness the species. Nightjars are typically small birds with small legs. However, they have very long wings and tails compared to their bodies, which if you want to see in the pictures, you can see how big the wingspan is compared to like the actual bird and how long the tails are on the wings. They're also typically known for their wide mouths. The nightjar beaks have evolved to be much wider than it is long. The big mouth helps it easily scoop up insects when it's flying. If you look closely, they have long sensitive bristles around the mouth, which helps funnel insects into the bird's mouth, which you can kind of see at the bottom left picture. You can see the little bristles on it. The nightjar has big black eyes because they're strictly nocturnal birds. They are only active during the night, so their eyes have evolved much. Their eyes have evolved for them to be able to see clearly during that time. The colors of the nightjar usually match the colors of foliage on the ground to help blend the bird into the environment when they sleep and to help them hide from predators. And one interesting fact about the species is that both male and female nightjars are the same color and pattern, which is different from other species of birds because when it comes to birds, males usually are more colorful and like have like flashier patterns than female counterparts of the same species. So the nightjar's diet is pretty common, with its main source of food being flying insects like moths, beetles, and dragonflies. However, the nightjar hunts while flying in the air, rarely picking up bugs from the ground. So they like to stay around artificial light, like lampposts and things of that nature. So when the insects, like moths, are attracted to the light, the birds are able to just swoop down and catch the insects. And then the way the species drinks water is pretty weird because they fly towards the surface of the water. And while in flight, scoop the water up in their mouth instead of landing on top of the water, like most other birds, which you can see in this picture here is the bird just, scooping up water. So another interesting fact about nightjars is the migration patterns are pretty interesting. As according to an article titled "Nightjar's Migration Waxing and Wanes with the Moon," the nightjar's behavior is the first time a link has been shown between animal migration patterns and the lunar cycle. Based on the moon, the birds will decide when to migrate. And then they also change their feeding habits based on the moon, eating more insects during certain moon phases. And so, yeah. So one of the reasons the nightjar are rarely ever seen is because they're actually endangered. The decline of the nightjar species has been directly linked to the result of human involvement. Nightjars like to nest on the ground and unfortunately on roads. So this has caused many vehicles to collide with the birds in their nests. Deforestation has also been a really big problem for the species, killing and causing the species to migrate because their habitats are being destroyed. And then lastly, pesticides killing insects, which decreases food supplies for them. However, according to a newspaper from the UK in 2020, the nightjars have been steadily increasing in population in Europe again due to many laws that now protect the birds and their habitats from being tampered with. And sorry, the nightjar species is one of my favorite types of birds, and I feel because the parents of the species and like their diet and patterns, the girls, the birds, and the parents. Yeah, that's it. Oh no, my internet. Did my internet go out?
There you go. You're back.
Did my internet go
We can hear you right now, but it's
out the whole time?
Beep beep boop. Should be
In
fine.
the middle of
Oh, she got frozen.
Yeah, just give her a minute.
You're back.
Did it go out?
You're back now. You're back.
When did I leave in the middle of it?
Yeah.
What? Oh, I don't know where I left off then.
just very recently, just maybe like 20 seconds ago.
I'll tell you.
Shit.
So you're good.
Okay.
You got down to the last. You got down to your last point. You were getting ready to start to make.
About them being endangered.
Oh, let me see.
And my internet was fine the whole time. And of course, when I have to go.
Well, it was right after you put up this picture.
This one, I don't know. This one's just a placeholder.
Started telling us about them. I think you were talking about like their food.
Okay. Should I just like start from talking about like their diet and habitat?
Start from when you put that picture up, because that's when you started going on.
I don't remember when I did that. Oh, probably after I talked about them drinking water weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna start from migration patterns and just hopefully my internet doesn't go out again. I'm really sorry. Okay. I need water. Hold on. Okay. So the migration patterns of the nightjar are pretty interesting. According to an article titled Nightjar's Migration, Waxes and Wanes with the Moon, the nightjar's behavior is the first time a link has been shown between animal migration patterns and the lunar cycle. Based on the moon, the birds will decide when to migrate. And then the nightjars also change their feeding habits based on the moon, eating more insects during certain moon phases. One of the reasons the nightjars are rarely ever seen is actually because they are endangered. The decline of the nightjar species has been directly linked to the result of human involvement. Nightjars like to nest on the ground and unfortunately on roads. And so this has caused many vehicles to collide with the birds in their nests. Deforestation has also caused many problems for the species. killing and causing the species to migrate because their habitats are being destroyed. And lastly, pesticides kill insects, which has been decreasing the food supply for the species. So it's been harder for them to be able to get food. So, however, according to a newspaper from the UK in 2020, the nightjars have been steadily increasing in population in Europe again due to many laws that now protect the birds and their habitats from being tampered with. And so, the nightjar species is one of my favorite types of birds. Because of the appearance of the species, the diet, migration patterns, and the general mystery surrounding the birds makes this type of bird very unique and interesting compared to others. And that's it. Yeah. My internet didn't go out again, so.
No, you came back.
Yes. Okay.
Beautiful pictures.
Thanks. I thought it was good to have like a visual because yeah, I talk about the bird a lot, so, like visual things.
Very odd.
I like them a lot.
They're
What
really
is the name of the bird?
They're
Exactly,
called-
I couldn't get the whole name.
They're called nightjars.
Night jar?
Yeah, like the word night and then the word jar together.
Okay.
There's
My
a
husband loves birds, so I want to that. Thank
there's
you.
a there's a more scientific name for the bird, but I couldn't pronounce it, and even like listening to it and stuff, I just wasn't able to get it. So I just thought it would be better to not add it.
That's correct.
Okay, I'll look it
Yeah,
up.
I didn't
Thank
wanna,
you.
like, stumble over it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you so much, Skylar. All right, our last presenter is Roxana.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Do you remember your 16th birthday? The one thing that I think we all can agree we all really wanted. So the one thing we were all looking forward to getting is our driver's license. And to this day, teenagers always look forward to getting their driver's license, being able to go to the DMV and just know that they're going to gain a new level of independence. So it's the chance of getting behind the wheel and drive to school or anywhere else their little heart desires. The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry explains that a driver's license is one of the biggest status symbols among high school students. And getting a driver's license makes the adolescent feel more independent. Parents no longer have to do the driving for them, and the teenagers can get to places on their own. It's a big step in a teenager's life, and they can finally start to transform into an adult. But before, there are a few steps that need to be followed in order to get that sweet little piece of plastic. And obtaining that driver's license requires getting a learner's permit, learning to drive, and then finally taking your driver's test. To begin the process of getting your driver's license, you have to get a learner's permit. And according to the PA driver's manual, you must obtain a learner's permit before you operate a motor vehicle in Pennsylvania. You have to study the manual and familiarize yourself with road signs and the different laws. And this is crucial to learn the basics and what to expect of the road, and your preparedness will be verified by a knowledge test. And with this test is what you're going, it's passing this test is when you'll get your permit. The manual explains that knowledge tests will measure your knowledge of traffic signs, Pennsylvania's driving laws, and safe driving practices. The test needs to be successfully completed before you can receive a valid driver's permit. The test is something that needs to be taken seriously, and you cannot move forward without passing the knowledge test. Learning all the important rules, regulations, and signs will set the foundation for the next step. After getting the permit, the fun part begins where you learn to actually drive. Learning to drive ideally begins in a driving school where you learn how to operate a vehicle with a professional driving instructor and a car that's equipped with a dual brake. the car allows the instructor to take control in the event that something goes wrong. It is important to learn the proper way because, as stated in the article, the roles and performance driving instructors in novice driver education, driving is an instrumental activity of daily living. It can be extremely dangerous, as even a minor mistake can result in a complicated and life-threatening injury or death. Practicing is a key part of being able to pass your driver's license, of being able to pass your driver's test, and which will ultimately lead to getting your license. You're required to complete at least 65 hours behind the wheel, and at least 10 of those hours have to be at night, and 5 should be in bad weather before taking your road test. The training will help you gain the skills necessary to become a good and safe driver. It's important to practice in these different situations and different weather conditions to prepare you for everyday real life experiences. After all the practice, you should familiarize yourself with your car, understand your car, and the different mechanisms and controls to be able to be a safe driver. Practice makes perfect, and although we're not perfect drivers, you should feel safe and confident behind the wheel and ready to take the exam that will get you to your long-awaited driver's license. Finally, after all the studying and practice leads to the moment of the driver's test. After learning all the signs and doing all the testing and doing all the practice on the road, the time comes and it's the moment where it's just you, your car, and the instructor. The examiner will be your only passenger during the road test. The road test begins, you'll be told where to drive and what maneuvers to make. Close attention has to be paid to any signs and traffic lights. The examiner will note how you control your vehicle and turn signals and how you communicate with other drivers. I know this can be a nerve-wracking experience, but passing your driver's test is what's going to get you to get your driver's license. After the short road test, the instructor will let you know if you passed or failed, and then you can either celebrate, or if you or if you fail, you can just, not everybody passes on their first try, but you shouldn't feel discouraged because you can always retest. You just go home, practice on whatever it is that you failed, whether it's your parking or whether it's maybe you need to pay closer attention to the signs or any signaling, but you can always have a second chance. But once you finally pass, you have your license in hand and you can appreciate all the hard work you put into getting there. Summarizing, obtaining your license happens after completing the 3 basic steps, which include getting your permit, learning to drive, and then taking your driver's test. At this moment, it will lead to more independence, but it will come with a new set of responsibilities. It will lead to more independence, but according to the article of the roles and performance, it states that according to the World Health Organization, the number of global road traffic fatalities exceeded 1 million in recent years, with over 20 to 50 million people either injured or incapacitated due to road traffic accidents. And the younger novice drivers constitute the highest portion of the traffic accidents. And that also is followed by another article with driving and teens, which states that teenage drivers are 4 times more likely to be involved in a crash than an adult driver. Traffic crashes are often the #1 cause of death and injury for people 16 to 20. So be proud of yourself for accomplishing the goal of getting your license, but be a responsible driver. Remember that it's better to be left unread than dead.
That was a cute ending.
Thank you.
Yes, very, very clever. Any questions for Roxanne or comments? Okay, that's it for our speeches tonight. Give yourselves a big round of applause. There we go. All right, great. Most of you did stay with the informative format, which is a good thing. Some of my other students in my other class, they were like very persuasive. Some of your supporting material was leaning a little persuasive, but you brought it in, and it was good. Some people put a little more persuasiveness into your conclusion. Well, you have to remember, don't be tempted to do that. Stay informative throughout your speech. Most people did have their attention getting device. Some people didn't still, but for the most part, most people did. And most people did understand that there are 3 parts of a speech. So you all have come a long, long way from day 1. So you should be proud of how far you've come. So we've got one more speech left next week, the special occasion speech, which is definitely my favorite speech, and one that I think many of you will probably deliver some form of it at some point in your lives. So it will be helpful for you to consider it in this class. So I'm looking forward to that next week as well. So now, are there any questions about anything, discussions, comments you would like to offer? Okay, so next week, special occasion speeches, and then the following week, our final exam. And remember, the final exam is not cumulative. It covers everything after the second exam till special occasion speeches. Okay, same format.
I had a question. Do
Yeah.
we have to submit journal entries for the 2 days we didn't have class?
Yes.
Okay.
Talk to me about your communication efforts during that week.
Okay.
Any other questions? I was very informed today, and most of you were everybody really was very confident and offered us new information, which is something that's required for your informative speech. So I was very happy to see that. One thing, though, that was disappointing was that we didn't have much visuals tonight. So that part was a little disappointing. But the ones that we did see, those birds were beautiful. Skylar, thank you. All right. There being no further business. Going once, twice. Okay, so I will get your video together for your speeches and let you know what the assignments are for you to evaluate your classmates. Everyone able to see the video okay with the pet peeve speech? Okay, good. All right, so no further questions. That's it for tonight, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Good night.
Professor, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes.
When are these speech discussions due in the discussion board?
No. Go into discussion. I'm not really exactly sure the dates.
Okay.
Go on the side in the discussion board, and when you click that, you'll see each one, and just go in there, and it'll tell you when it's due.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, good night, students. Have a wonderful week.
Bye, Professor.
Okay,
Bye,
thank you.
Sue. Bye, guys.
Bye.